Not escape the ordinary and embark on a journey of self-discovery at our transformational Revive and Thrive retreat. Experience moments of clarity, find inner peace and unlock your true potential, surrounded by breathtaking natural beauty. There is only one spot left for our Revive and Thrive retreat this May. Don't miss your chance to join this life-changing experience with the most incredible group of women who are all cheering each other on. There is one more place available. Transform your life and reserve your place today. Hello and welcome to the More to Life podcast. I am your host, Elle Mace, and today we are joined by Lisa McFarland. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Lisa, you are a relationship coach. So can you just give us a little bit more of an explanation as to who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So I'm a coach, and just like we would have coaches in business or in at PT, things like that, I am a coach for your relationship. In other parts of the world, this is very, very normal, but here in my little corner in Northern Ireland, it's not common at all. I think it's becoming more common in England, but it's definitely not common where I'm from here in Ireland. So I want to change that. I want it to be a normal thing. I want to take the shame and guilt away for asking for a little bit of help when it comes to your relationship. Relationships are one of the hardest things to do, and yet we get no education for them. I often say it would be like going to IKEA, getting the most complicated wardrobe and realizing the book is not there to build it, and then blaming yourself because it hadn't worked. So I'm here to give you that information. I have been in my relationship for 34 years, so I think I have a good bit to share.
Yeah, it's so true. Again, I have this like a similar conversation going on with me. Like, we have this relationship with food from birth, but we're not really taught at school like how to manage the emotions of food. And exactly what you're saying there, I never even really thought about that for relationships in terms of intimate or any relationship.
Yeah, any relationships at all. And actually what we get is bad examples. And we see our parents, we see our aunts and uncles, we see horrendous examples on TV, but we never see good examples. We don't see good examples of healthy conflict, intimacy, connection, sexual energy between people, all that sort of thing. We don't see any of that in a healthy way. So then what we tend to do is repeat and repeat and repeat what we've seen, and we get nowhere. My conflict style was silent treatment. So we call it huffing. So giving my partner the silent treatment whenever we got into conflict, and I could do that for days. And it's really, really very, very destructive and a terrible thing to do, and it's not good for your relationship. So if you're doing that, you have to stop doing it. You can take a little breather and you can calm your nervous system, and then you can come back and continue the conversation. But when we went on our journey and our lady told us that I couldn't do it anymore, I was like, well, if I can't do that, you're gonna have to give me something else, because I had no idea what to put in place.
Yeah, and I've actually been someone on the receiving end of the silent treatment years and years ago. But yeah, it is so difficult.
Well, it's actually emotional abuse.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it's really difficult.
Same as shouting, same as door slamming. They're all forms of abuse. We can do better.
Yeah. So just tell us then, how did you get into becoming a relationship coach?
Okay, so my husband and I have another business together, and we worked there very pleasantly for about 15 years. And then, so I had my department, he had his department, and that was all tickety-boo. And then our business went through a big transition. It happens in business. It's not a problem. But he had a different way of going about it than I did. I was like, Here's how I think it should happen. And his was totally different. Neither were right or wrong. They were just two different worldviews of how it should happen. Um, and we started discussing it, and then we started arguing about it, and then it became all consuming. And it was the only thing we were talking about. And our children were teenagers at the stage, and they were saying, "Are you two still talking about this?" We would be talking about it at 11 o'clock at night. I would waken up at 2 o'clock in the morning and be like, "Oh, I forgot to tell you today, this person and this happened." Da, da, da. It just became all consuming.
Mm,
I had been to therapy a few years previous when my mummy had passed away, and I just went a couple of times, but I found it so beneficial. So
mm,
one day in the middle of a conflict, I said, "That's it. We're going to talk to somebody." He was not over the moon. I'm going to just tell you, was not over the moon about the idea, but
mm,
he also realized that we were just in a cycle here of just. So we went and talked to somebody, and she was lovely, and he was very, very clear. He said, "We love each other dearly. We've just got a bit stuck in the weeds here."
mm.
And we were together at that stage probably 26 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
we've been together since we were 18, we were in our 40s then. So we did love each other dearly, and we just had got stuck in the weeds. So she told us very simple things. "What about you don't talk about work after 6 o'clock?" And I
Mm,
that's not rocket science. Sure, it's not. "What about you set for an hour and a half in work, put the plans together, and then that's it?" And then she started saying, "When was the last time you'd went on a date? When was the last time we'd just been focusing on this. We hadn't been nurturing our relationship, or as I like to call it, filling the relationship cup." So
mm,
our own cups had become so depleted, and we had no idea how to fill those. We were very codependent. We had been brought up with the Jerry Maguire movies and Pretty Woman movies, so we thought that it was our job to fill each other's cup. We didn't know
yeah.
you had to put your own oxygen mask on first and then fill the relationship cup. So
Mm,
that was a revelation for us. We were like, "No, that can't be right. Absolutely no way." We were very much, if my partner was in good mood, I was in good mood. If I was in good mood, he was in good mood. So when both of us
mm,
were in bad mood, that wasn't working well. So that was it. So every day after therapy, I would just say, "Everyone needs to know this stuff. Why have we not been taught this stuff? We're together 20 odd years. How did we even get this far?
mm,
Why did we not know this earlier? And why is nobody talking about this stuff?" And that was my pivot.
and that's why you do what you do. So in the therapy for yourself,
Hmm.
was there what were the kind of like aha moments for you? Like you said at the start, you were actually giving silent treatment that you then had to stop. And
Hmm.
so what were there any other sort of habits and behaviors that you understood through therapy, but you didn't realize you were doing at the time that were actually quite toxic?
Yeah. So the silent treatment was the main one. And I said to her, I was like, "I'm so good at it. I'm wonderful at it. I'm very proud of myself. I was so good at it." And she turned to my partner and she said, "How does it make you feel when she gives you the silent treatment?" And he said, "I can't reach her."
Mm,
And that was me. I was like, "That's it. I'm never doing it again." And I said to her, "That's it. I'm never doing it again. But you have to give me something else." And she taught us about healthy conflict. And she taught us about attachment styles. And she taught us about how even if you're the most secure person, when you get into conflict, you will default to either anxious or avoidant. And the more anxious one partner gets, the more avoidant the other will get. The more avoidant the other gets, the more anxious the other gets. It's a perfect storm. Taught us
mm,
about that, taught us about our love languages, taught us about oh, just really good. And then I was just down a rabbit hole listening to podcast. I was already training to be a life coach at that stage for
mm,
our business. So I took the life coaching stuff, went on my own journey with another coach with Reiki and a bit of looking at my inner child and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, that was just my life just pivoted in about 18 months. And I
mm.
fell down the rabbit hole of the books and the podcasts and the just educating and getting my hands on everything I could to be a relationship coach.
Yeah. So can you see a pattern between the young Lisa, child Lisa, you mentioned that inner child, to wherever you experienced or whoever you were as a child? Can you see a connection to then how you showed up in the relationship before you kind of fixed it?
Yeah, I want doing the work.
Yep.
I actually identified the first time I ever gave my dad actually the silent treatment. So whenever it comes up for me, I have to go back and have a little chat with her and say, it's okay, we're grown up now, we have the tools. And the first time I did it, as the universe would have it, of course, by the time when I told the therapist I would never give my husband the silent treatment again, of course, within 24 hours, an opportunity came up to give the silent treatment. But my rule, I promised myself that instead of the silent treatment, I would ask for a hug. So then he would know that that was I was feeling triggered, but I was asking for a hug instead. So I had to walk, I'm going to say 6 steps across the kitchen. But in those 6 steps, I thought my skin was going to fall off my body.
Yeah,
If
I
a
can
stone or two
imagine.
had fallen off, it would have been okay. But I thought my actual skin was going to fall off. A, it was just such a, every cell of my body was screaming, no, 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 no. That 7-year-old was just saying, you're giving in. This is ridiculous. So you know what? I had the hug. We sat down, we put the kettle on, we had a cup of tea, and we used the healthy conflict tools.
Yeah, you really do have to put yourself outside your comfort zone, don't you? When you try a different way to what you have always done.
Yeah. And I tell my couples all the time, here's some suggestions. You have to find the one that's right for you. You have to find the one that's right for you. It might be that you need to say, I'm going to take the dog a walk, but I do want to come back to this conversation. It might say you need a hug. You might say, I need to sleep on this. I want to talk about it tomorrow. Worst advice I ever got was that never to go to bed on an argument. That's horrendous advice. We do not have board meetings, directors meetings, interviews at 11 o'clock at night. We
Yeah,
are not our best self. It's
no.
okay to say, sweetheart, can we put a pin in this and come back to it tomorrow?
Yeah, you need to diffuse yourself, don't you? Because also you'll end up saying stuff that actually you don't really mean because you're so tired and
Yep.
drained.
Or what about waking our partner up to finish the argument?
Oh, gosh, that gives me flashbacks to me at like 18 years old.
Mhm. Or another one I love, if you're with a guy and he's actually said, I need a minute, and he goes to his man cave and you follow him to his man cave, special. I think that's a very special one.
Oh my God, that was definitely me when I was younger. Um, so tell me a little bit about younger Lisa or Lisa from like, kid to teen to sounds like you've been with your partner since you were 18,
Yep.
which congratulations, that's incredible. So just tell us about you as a younger child. Was life happy, stressful?
I had a very, very, very happy childhood. I know there's very few people. I had a very happy, when people say that and didn't really, but I had a older brother and sister, so my childhood was just very happy-go-lucky sort of thing. My mum had done that stressful thing with those two. I just sort of I got the fun mum. She was a bit older when I came along. So, excuse me. I've had this silly cold for like 3 weeks now. So my childhood was my dad was actually a minister.
Yeah.
So, and again, he was a little bit older time I came along. I was a pretty good child. And I just went with the flow. And, I do remember the first time I huffed with him and I was 7, but I mean, all that's fine. Teenaging was a bit trickier for me. My parents were quite well known in the community. So if you were caught doing something as a teenager, it wasn't maybe just ideal because your parents were quite well known. So I know now that all that's quite toxic. Um, so that was just a bit tricky. It was a bit tricky. But yeah, I met my husband when we knew each other from we were children. Isn't that really
Oh,
weird?
wow.
We knew each other, didn't really travel in the same circles, but where we grew up was a small town. And he was just always really nice and cool and dead. We would say dead on.
Oh,
So then we started going out when we were 18. I did tell him I didn't want anything serious.
yeah, right. Okay, that went well.
And, and after our third child was born 16 years ago, he reached over and he said, can we be serious now? And
Yeah,
I said, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Serious to me are those couples sitting in a restaurant who can't talk to each other. I was
yeah.
like, "No, we're not doing serious. We're not doing serious." And I guess that young Lisa was always interested in the psychology of, I always watched Oprah. I watched Oprah from I was no age, Dr. Phil, always did all that sort of thing. If I was going to read a book, it had to be a book about, well, I didn't know it was called self-help then. You know,
Yes.
in the 90s, we didn't name it that, but it always had to be about someone who'd went on a journey. I was never going to read a book about a mermaid or something, you know. It was always
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And after when I finished school, I went and studied childcare. So again, there was a lot of psychology in that. And then yeah, so that was just always what I didn't know now that would all pay off, but
Yes.
always an interest.
Yeah. It kind of does a 360, doesn't it? The stuff that you find yourself doing maybe at teens, actually sometimes you go off and then it comes around and it serves you again later
Also,
on.
also every single report. So my mum and dad have both passed now. So whenever we're doing the clearing out of the houses and things, and you find all those reports and childhood things, every single school report says Lisa talks too much.
Really.
But here I am earning my living via
Still
talk.
talking.
I
Brilliant.
think
Love
I
it.
think I think now kids growing up in school, I'm pretty sure the teachers would guide them to some sort of, communication, journalism,
Mm,
therapy, counseling, psychology route. I'm pretty sure if you're a big talker in school now,
yeah.
that's where they would point you towards, but not in the 80s. They did not do that
Yeah.
in 1986.
No, it was like sit down, be quiet, shut up.
Yep. Listen to what the
Or
teacher
you'll
has
be
to say.
naughty. You'll be naughty
Exactly.
child.
If you have enjoyed listening to the podcast today, then please head over and leave us a rating or a review. This would be hugely appreciated. And as a thank you, I will make sure that I send you my 30-minute transformational audio that you must listen to every day for some serious level ups. And I will also add you into our Facebook community group where there is daily motivation and support for each other. Please just send it over via any social media platform or on email. Thank you.
You and your husband then have been together how many years now?
Oh, I'm so bad with this. 34 years. So what am I? We're together when yes, that's right. So we're together when
34.
and we're 52 now.
So 34 years, you said you had some trouble when, after a period of time of working together.
Yeah.
What else would you say has been your biggest challenges as a couple to get through?
Children,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
children, and not even when they're little and they eventually start sleeping, you have like couples come to me and they'll say, we've no time. I'm like, what time do your children go to bed? 7:30, 8 o'clock. I'm like, okay, what time do you go to bed? 10. Like, so you have 2 hours. When you get to be teenagers, when your children get to be teenagers, you actually have no time. You actually have no time. They might be in their room. I don't promote that. I much prefer teenagers to be. My son is 16 and his Xbox is still here in my sunroom. I don't really promote that. I don't promote any sort of technology in bedrooms for teenagers or couples, actually. I think all of that should be in the living area, in the kitchen area. I think anyway, that's just my personal views. I'm
No,
not
it's
a
useful. Yeah.
teenage expert, but that's what I've done with mine, and we seem to have been doing okay in that department. So, phones, things like that, I sometimes look at his phone and it's sitting here in the kitchen, and in the morning I'll look at it, and he's been getting Snapchats at 3 o'clock in the morning from people. So that's kids his age who are not sleeping and trying to go to school the next day at 3. So anyway, teenaging, I would definitely say, and my kids are good and we communicate well, but it's definitely the most draining on your relationship, I would say.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Because people do often say just get through the first few years, if you can get through the first few years, because of obviously that sleep deprivation. But I guess the emotional roller coaster of you dealing with teenagers, I've got 3 kids,
Well, it's
and I don't even
just
want to think about it.
you can do it. It's just the time. So people say to me now, people say to me on Instagram, you're never in. I was like, I was in for 20 years. My big girl is 22 now. I was in for 20 years. Also, our girls were very sporty. So they would have been at sporting events. And my husband and I, when we're out for a walk, sometimes I'll be like, how did we actually do all that? How did we actually do all that? The only flip side of them becoming teenagers is you get to go out a little bit more yourself,
Yeah.
you for a dinner and they're fine in the house by themselves, you can go meet friends at a pub and they're fine. And so take advantage of those things, I would say, when they're teenagers. But teenagers asking you questions at 10:30 at night is absolutely draining. Absolutely draining. And you have to be ready. You have to be ready, and you have to talk to them when they want to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is down as one of your most challenging things. Anything else?
Working together obviously goes up there.
Yeah.
The teenagers, parents getting older, parents getting sick, caring for parents, parents passing away, grief, everything,
Mm.
all that, all that. We have not experienced this, but I hear from couples redundancy, change of
Yeah.
job, getting there may be somebody's got a promotion and you haven't, all those things. Life stuff, just life stuff is so
Yeah.
difficult, you know?
So if you could, for your clients coming to you, then what would you say at the moment in this current time, this year so far, what is the biggest issue that couples are having? What is the biggest sort of things they're
Well,
trying to deal with?
my couples come to me. I sometimes have couples come to me where there's been infidelity, but that would be a percentage, that percentage would be low. My couples come to me, and I think it's because this is what I put out on Instagram. When they are where I was, they just know that something's not right. They're arguing about the same thing over and over again. They've maybe heard me talking about healthy conflict. So they're like, okay, we need to come to you and learn how to do that. They maybe their sex life has dried up. Maybe the kids have got in the way. That's the sort of thing that people come to me. And guys will constantly say, so if you're in a heterosexual relationship, the guy will say, look, if we just got our sex life back on track, the relationship would happen. And the woman will say, if we got our relationship back on track, the sex would happen.
Yes.
And both are right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a two-edged sword. Okay. So we have to get better at conflict. We have to get better at connection. Women connect emotionally during the week. Men connect emotionally with the physical act of sex. So we have to get those. So big thing I would talk about is, are you kissing? When was the last time you kissed each other? When was the last time you went out for a walk and held hands? I cannot tell you the amount of couples who say to me, do you know what the first thing was he said to me this week? Are we having sex on Friday night?
I can so imagine. When are we no, and the sulks as well. The sulks.
Great sex on a Friday night starts when you empty the dishwasher on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
Okay. Or there's a beautiful lady called Esther Perel. She's uh, intimacy and connection, and that's all. Her eroticism is her jam. And she said foreplay starts after the last orgasm.
Okay.
Yeah. So we call it sexual currency, and
Okay.
women need that sexual currency to continue all week.
Mm-hmm.
That connection, they need that cuddle at the sink, they need all that sort of thing. And what our partners sometimes are doing wrong is they're speaking the wrong love language to us.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard about the love languages?
Yeah. Yeah.
Time, touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, and gifts. Cannot tell you the guys who say to me, are you going to make my life easier? I'm like, I'm just about to make your life so much easier, because there's tons of guys who are doing all the things, but all their wife wants is their time.
Yes.
Picking
Yeah.
up their kids, they're mopping the floor, they're picking up the groceries on the way up. There are tons of guys, I know women generally take on the bigger mental load, but there are tons of guys who are really doing that. And their wife just wants them to sit down with a cup of tea and have a chat with them, because their
Mm.
wife's love language is time, but they're speaking to their partner in their love language, which is acts of service, and not their partner's. So you
Yeah.
find out what your partner's love language is, and you speak love to them in their love language, not yours.
Yeah.
People
So
have a hard time
is
finding
that
that.
is that more typically for women than the love language, or would you say what is generally a male love language?
I have not actually taken any data on this, but I would guess it's touch and
Yeah.
acts.
Yeah. And so
And there's usually time, and not usually time and words of affirmation. Women also, there's lots of women who love gifts. There's lots of women who love touch, but it's different for a woman. If touch came up on high, that could be sitting cuddling on the couch. That might necessarily be sex, but it's saying, okay, touch is coming up for me. What does that mean? That means blah, 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 blah. What does that mean for you? Blah, 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 blah. It's communicating.
Yeah. And so for many, many couples who have had children, or even if they haven't had children, they've been together a long time and they're falling into that like best friend trap, which I see over and over again. Other than kind of trying to get intimate again, what else would you suggest?
So it's very difficult to go from zero to everything just like that. First of all, I would suggest investing in your sex life before you get there, because 1 week passes and we don't have sex. 2 weeks passes and we don't have sex. 3 weeks passes and we don't have sex. Oh, now it's a month. What do we do now? What do we do now? Okay, that's going to be, so first of all, invest in it before it disappears. Be conscious. Oh, that's 10 days and we haven't had any sort of intimacy. Okay, what does intimacy mean to you? What would you like to do? How do we get these kids to bed? What do we do? Where are we not prioritizing time? How long do you think, in general, a sex session lasts for? Like the data, how long do you think it lasts for?
Oh gosh, the data. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna go like 5 minutes.
Well, you're not far off. But anything between 5 to 19 minutes. So around 13 minutes, they say, is the most common. So I'd say to couples, you don't have 13 minutes in your week to make love to your person? You know, if you don't have 13 minutes a week to be, and also the data tells us that we must be spending 90 minutes a week with our person, connecting, talking about really good stuff, not life admin. So life admin is, are you getting Charlie at 2? Well, I'm getting a dog clipped. That's life admin. That's, did you bring milk? You didn't bring milk. Why did you not? Not life admin. 90 minutes a week. How was your week? The Fanos, have you heard of Fanos?
No.
So it's a lovely little test that you can do on a date night. You can do it driving along in the car. So it's FANOS. So how are you feeling? How are you feeling? Don't get too deep, you know. You affirm each other. So you ask out your feelings, you affirm each other, you say what your needs are for the week, all that sort of thing. You can find it online. All this stuff's free. You know, sit down, have 90 minutes a week of actual connecting. That's not scrolling on your phone beside each other on the couch.
Yeah.
At least 90 minutes. One date night a week, if not 2. Now, if you've little children, that doesn't have to be, you're not going out. You're just getting the kids to bed and you're saying, no phones. Let's sit down and have a little date here in the kitchen with a cup of tea.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay? And then carving out. So the data also tells us that this stuff's very general because I'm pretty sure people lie about this sort of stuff. But on average, 3 times a month is what long-term couples. So, you know, we can break that down to once a week, twice. Would be better. We could break that down to once a week. So I sometimes say to my couples, you know what? When you look at your plans for the weekend, where are you carving out for your relationship? Because I know that Jimmy is going to this and Ellie's going to this and so-and-so's going to that. Brilliant. Love it. You're investing in your children. Brilliant. Where are you investing in your relationship?
Yes. Yeah.
Because your children are going to go up and leave you.
Yeah. And also they're learning from your relationship, aren't they? They're seeing how you interact and how you are when you're in an adult relationship.
We had I don't know, sometime in COVID, one of our girls had one friend over and something happened in the kitchen and I sort of snapped back no and to my husband and then he sort of said something and I was like, hold on a second. And you could, it was just getting a little bit, now that we know how to do it. And my daughter's friend said, okay, let's go out of here. Let's go. And my daughter was like, oh, no. Let's stay and watch this. It's so boring.
Yeah.
So we just sat down, put the kettle on, sat down, and we had the healthy conflict in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. To show, well, I think we've grown up in a society, haven't we, where our parents have often either never argued in front of us or, they might, well, obviously some have experienced arguing in front of them, but been really conscious to not bring anything up. So, but actually what you're demonstrating to your children there is, like you say, that healthy conflict. How to survive.
My children are not 3. My children are 22, 20. So they're probably 17 at that stage, 18 at that stage. The other thing is we have to know how to rupture travel down the emotional tunnel to repair.
Mm.
Okay. Lots of us saw rupture in our homes. We never saw, or sometimes we heard the emotional tunnel, which was not healthy, but we never saw the repair.
Yeah.
Just one or other of our parents go, do you want a cup of tea?
Mm.
We never saw how to repair.
No, very important actually, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
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 And kids
So,
are watching everything. Like even, my eldest is 4, but if we're ever having like, a heated discussion, I can see her watching both of us, really listening.
mhm, mhm, mhm. So the best thing I could teach you is to take the word you out of any heated discussions.
Okay.
Okay. So maybe take a breath, find out what you're actually feeling. I feel disrespected. I feel unseen. Da, 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 da. Okay. Find out what you're feeling. Then come to your partner with, when that happened, I felt da, 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 da. And your partner's response is, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel like that. But I can see where you're coming from. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Rather than the kind of blaming
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
attack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
So
always, I always tell this story. So I had been having my teeth straightened and, all these things that we do in our 50s. Anyway, da 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 da. And one of my love languages, words of affirmation. So I like to affirm myself on a regular basis. So I was flapping around in the sunroom there, affirming myself, saying, "Aren't my teeth looking wonderful?" and blah 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 blah. My husband said, "Let me have a look," and he said, "Yeah, no, I can see no difference at all." And then he turned to our grown-up children and said, "Can you see any difference?" Thank the Lord they had the sense to say, "Yes, mommy, they're looking great." He then said, "Wait for this one. How much was it again?"
oh, helpful.
So as you could tell, I was a little bit triggered, but I choose to not respond in the moment. Now, look, there are times for justified anger, okay? But in our relationships, sometimes we just fly off the handle because we've got used to the person, we take them for granted, and we're not very kind. Where in work or with our assistant or with a friend, we would take a minute, we'd take a beat and would breathe. So that's what we do, and that's what I try to teach my couples. Take a minute, breathe, and ask yourself, what is under this anger? What's under here? What's under here? What are the feelings that are under this anger? I feel unseen. I feel undermined. When undermined comes up for me, that's a childhood wound for me. So I have to go back and say, right, okay, is this as big a deal as I'm making it? Or what's the situation? Blah, blah, blah. So if you can get 3 or 4 of your actual feeling words, then
Yeah,
I come to my partner and I say, I need to talk, I need to see, there's something's happened and I need a safe place to land.
yeah.
He insists in saying a soft place to land. That's just to annoy me. And he thinks it's very, very, very hilarious. Okay. So he said, yep, that's fine. Let me just, and at that stage, your partner is totally in his rights, in their rights to say, can I finish this email?
Yeah,
Can we get to bed? Can I just bring my mum here because she was on the phone earlier and I don't think she's feeling well? Because you want your partner to show up at this as their best self.
yeah,
So they say, yep, give me 2 minutes. Let me just do. Yes, sweetheart, what do you need? I need a safe place to land. Okay. That is your partner's cue for get your superhero cape on. I'm coming in hot. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
So their superhero cape is on. So they're not going to defensiveness or anxious. Okay. You're staying secure and you're saying, you don't say this. You don't say when you said that about my teeth. You say, when that happened about my teeth, I felt undermined. I felt unseen. I felt a bit disrespected. And my partner says, I never intended to do that, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I made you.
yeah,
He
yeah,
didn't wake up that morning. He's not a narcissist. He didn't wake up and think, how am I going to annoy her today? It was
yeah. Yeah, it's just life, isn't it? Like, you could be running late, you could just be really
yep,
stressed out for that. You could have read an
yep.
email that just isn't sitting with you very well, all of that.
I did it myself then, like 2 weeks later, again, running late. We were in our other business. I was like, I'm just going to go and talk to so-and-so 2 minutes. He did. He was like, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, because we have to get to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, I was 20 minutes late. Got into the car and he said to me, I said, I knew that you couldn't do it. 2 minutes or something like that. But he was fine about it. And I said this. Would you hear what I said? I said, I feel a bit sick even saying it out loud. I said, don't feel like that.
Oh,
So now we're just telling each other how to feel. And I said, don't feel like that. It's not a big deal. We're still going to be on time. And he just looked at me and I went, okay, can I just take off? Just rewind.
Yeah, you shouldn't feel like that. Yeah.
Don't feel like that. And he just looked at me and I was like, okay, do I have to actually quit my day job now? He goes, no. And we ended up having a laugh about it. I was like,
well, it's just, we're all people, aren't we? Just all human beings.
I was just defensiveness. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Gotham Institute in America have been studying relationships for like 40 years. They're adorable. They're an older married couple. They're just too cute for words. But there's 4 things that shouldn't exist in relationships: criticism, contempt, stonewalling, that's the silent treatment, and defensiveness. And defensiveness, it's our go-to. Don't feel like that. Don't say that. Don't, so.
Yeah. Oh, so much information. Juicy.
We're with a loving, caring partner. We shouldn't have to use defensiveness.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. I think, this conversation is really helpful for people who are in relationships that, they're just a bit lost and can fix. But actually, there will be some relationships where you are better off walking away.
Oh, yeah. Some relationships run their course.
Yeah.
Some relationships run their course. Absolutely. And it doesn't mean it failed.
Yeah.
That relationship just course and it ended. That's okay. That's okay. Ian Esther Perel says that we are very likely to have 3 long-term relationships in our lives. Some of us will have it with the same person. So you'll have your relationship, your dating relationship, your early moving into the other relationship, then you'll have your relationship when you're raising your children, and then you'll have your next relationship. And some of us have that with the same person. But the relationship that you had at 18, 20, 22, 25 is not your when you're 50.
Yeah. We just lost you a little bit there.
So the relationship you have at 18 is not going to be the relationship you have at 50, and it shouldn't be,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. You've been an absolute pleasure to have on the show. Where can everyone find you?
Instagram, relationship.coaching.ni, or the website relationship coach NI, I think it is. But yeah, I give out tons of free stuff on Instagram, like yourself. And then I do podcasts constantly. I go to businesses to do talks. I go to events to do talks. I run my own events. Oh, sure, it's great.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much and have a fabulous day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.